Welcome back to Fast Market on the TD Ameritrade Network. I'm Tom White, joined by my co-host Kevin Hinks. But let's bring in our next guest for our cash tag segment, and that's going to be Andy Swan, co-founder of LikeFolio. Welcome back to the show, Andy.
Hey, thank you.
All right, so we're talking Amazon here today. You know, everybody focuses on the retail side of their business, but most of their margins and profit come from AWS. What kind of data are you guys seeing out of LikeFolio? Because it seems like some of the other cloud-based companies starting to see a little bit of a pullback as far as spend on the cloud.
Yeah, you know, I'll say it was actually one of the bright spots of Google's Google's report, which wasn't a great report, mostly due to pullback in advertiser spend. But one of the bright spots was their cloud platform growth. I think it was 6.9 billion versus 6.7 billion expected. So that one little spot where they were able to outperform, you know, just so happens to be what Amazon is really, best at, or I guess you could say tied at best at. They are very, very good at the retail side, delivering goods and packages for consumers, but also at the cloud side. And we're seeing good growth out of Amazon on the cloud side of the business in terms of people talking about establishing accounts or growing their account with Amazon Web Services. Not as much as Google Cloud, so we don't think they'll be able to outperform as well as Google did in that specific slice, but we do think it'll be a positive point for the company on this earnings call. Now, everything else, just like you talked about in the last segment, which I thought was awesome about Apple, is kind of a toss-up. It's one of those, where is the consumer? How strong is the consumer at this point? I will say it looks like Amazon is one of those kind of last places that consumers will abandon. We're seeing some good uptick for Amazon on its Prime package, which is their subscription service, which is critical, kind of like Costco has this critical baseline of revenue that they have that keeps people coming back to the stores. The NFL partnership really seems to have sparked a good thing for Amazon. So I think they'll have positive things to say about Prime. But overall, it's going to come down to outlook of the economy. How strong is the consumer? I think Jeff Bezos has already started to wave some yellow flags here before the event. So I think, going into this earnings call, I'm more in a wait and see type of mood with this than a really active trader type of mood, because I do think the mix of their business is so complex. It's going to be very interesting to see how they tease it out, and more importantly, how they signal things are going into this very important holiday shopping quarter.
Andy, I have two really short questions that need your comment. Number one, does your data show any move away from e-commerce towards back in the stores? Number two, and give us your thoughts. Give us your Andy Swan entrepreneurial thought on the NFL and how Amazon is going to take advantage of this new relationship with the NFL.
Well, with the NFL, I think they've had a successful start, which I think is, not easy to do for a lot of companies. They had a little controversy with how they covered some injuries and things like that, but I think overall it was received really warmly. And I believe that next year they've even announced the first Black Friday game ever will be streamed through Amazon, and the first Black Friday game of the NFL ever, which is pretty good timing for a company like Amazon that likes to sell a lot of stuff in the holiday season to get everybody looking at their platform. So I think, in terms of that mix between e-commerce and in-store, we do see a return to in-store, but really it's mostly just driven by, deal seeking. People are looking for lower prices. They're looking for ways to save money. So it's less likely to impact Amazon as it is, some other companies which have more expensive products online. Amazon is really, really good at delivering deals and low prices. And so customers aren't moving away from Amazon as much as they might be changing their mix of in-store versus out-of-store for some of the more, brick and mortar retail brands.
And Andy, you mentioned the Prime Day that they had. They moved it up a quarter. They had two since the summer already, and they said that a lot of the metrics came out and said that, hey, it wasn't as good as the first one, but it probably shouldn't be, right? Because they're having double the amount. Are you guys seeing any data that reflects that, hey, the consumer's still there, and these Prime days that they have are really beneficial for Amazon?
Yeah, no, I think that they're very successful. I think they can pull off 2 in 1 year. They have a natural influx that's about to start, in the next couple of weeks. I mean, people get started on holiday shopping pretty early, and Amazon is still by far and away the easiest way to get that done. And a lot of times the most cost-efficient way to get that done, especially if you're a Prime member. So I think they're in a position of strength in terms of, weathering a consumer storm. But what's left out kind of in the unknown still for all of us is just how strong the consumer can be into this holiday quarter. And not just that, but how strong they can be, but how strong can they be into 2023? I think Amazon's one of those companies like Apple tonight where I can't wait to see both of these reports and how they speak about the future, because these are the two companies I think that probably have the most visibility, the furthest out in terms of the strength of the consumer. I would say even beyond potentially what Walmart and Target have. And so we'll be watching this very, very closely tonight. I think it's a great 1-2 punch.
And I just wanted to get your commentary because, Bezos, the CEO or the founder, came out just about a week ago, Andy, and he said batten down the hatches as far as the economy. He kind of gave us that warning. We've heard it from a few other CEOs like Jamie Dimon and such, and now I'm hearing that there's speculation out there that they've stopped hiring and stopped giving offers as far as AWS hires, right, at this point. Does that give you that caution that you mentioned earlier ahead of this report that, hey, maybe this all might not be well?
Yeah, it does. I mean, when I look at the LikeFolio overall data set, we were extremely neutral coming into this report. We're kind of like the stock is down, significantly on the year. Our data points are down fairly significantly, but it all kind of lined up. I will say, though, that watching some of these tech companies report over the last couple of weeks, the one thing that stands out is that there are some significant landmines out there. And if any of these companies step on them, it's sell first and ask questions later, like we saw with Meta. And so I think risk to the downside is still the appropriate position for traders, even though we're officially neutral going into this report, as well as the Apple report. I think both of them, the stock is priced about right, but I'm concerned about the near-term reaction that Wall Street is having to some of these earnings reports can be very, very violent. And, if you're stepping back with a long enough time frame, these are some of the greatest companies in the world, there could be some serious opportunities for longer-term, investment-seeking portfolio builders out there.
Yeah, and on your scale going into earnings, what's your score here on this one?
Yeah, we were like +8, which is as close to neutral as you can get. But again, that risk to the downside is clearly out there. We've seen that over and over again in this market.
All right, great data as always. And as you mentioned, some of these other big tech names have moved 2-3 standard deviations after this earnings season. So maybe Amazon's another one. All right, great stuff as always, Andy. Have a good day.
Thanks, you too.
All right, that's Andy Swan, co-founder of LikeFolio, helping us break down the data here, Kevin.